Welcome back to CBS Sports HQ presented by Penske. Week 5, we've got 5 on it. Here's the top 5 NFL games to watch this weekend, according to Ryan Harris and Douzable. Your one-stop shop to get you ready for the weekend. We can go ahead and deep dive into this one. Hi, everyone. I'm Zach Aldridge. I'm joined by Douzable in studio. Ryan Harris is there on the screen. Guys, we got to start with the Dolphins at the Jets. We know that Tua will not play on Sunday, but Miami's still favored by 3.5. Leger, what are you looking for to see from this AFC East showdown?
Yeah, I want to see, one, how this Jets defense comes out and defends the speed of the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Jets have routinely, throughout the first 3 games of the season, blitzed on third down, right? But they changed that up last week. Quentin Williams asked, let the defensive line get after the quarterback, and it paid dividends versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. The defensive line registered 3 sacks. This cover 2 defense that you're going to have to probably play against the speed of Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Let this defensive line hunt. Also, adversity, I'm looking at the other side of the ball. The Jets offense. Zach Wilson came back last week, struggled besides the first series of the game, struggled throughout the first 3 quarters, but was big in the fourth quarter, played with confidence. 10 of 12, 128 yards, and a touchdown, led 2 fourth-quarter scoring drives to help the Jets win. Xavier Howard hasn't practiced the last 2 days. Neither has Cross in their other corner. I'm looking to see if Josh Boyer, who routinely blitzes and sends the house, he brings Brandon Jones off the edge at safety. He brings Javon Holland off the edge. Will he switch things up? Because Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson do a really good job of getting open and separating from defenders. So that is something to watch in this game. Does Xavier Howard go this week?
I'm with you. I mean, the Jets are way better than people are giving them credit for. That was a gutsy come-from-behind win last week on the road in Pittsburgh. They even knocked out Mitch Trubisky from the game. And I love that story of what's going on there. And I'm with Leger. In addition to Zach Wilson performing, to me, it was how he performed. A couple of bad throws throughout that game, but was still aggressive, still taking shots. I really like what they're doing at the Jets. Breece Hall is a quality running back. They've got Carter as well. I mean, that's a tremendous offense, and they've got key pieces on defense. Sauce Gardner might make the Pro Bowl as a rookie corner, and they've got plenty of other players as well. But look out for Teddy Bridgewater. He showed you in that one throw that he had deep to Tyreek Hill last week that he still has a deep arm. I like Teddy Bridgewater maintaining the ride for the Dolphins so they can stay in the playoff waters as they hope to be.
Ryan, a Jets win will put them above 500 for the first time since winning the 2018 season opener. That being said, what is your pick for the game?
I got the Dolphins in this one. Waddle and Tyreek Hill just have so much speed. It's so fun to watch. And they will work, too. One of the keys, they have to have a right-handed quarterback play calls. They didn't have that when Teddy Bridgewater got in the game last week. So he's going to have some design, move the pocket, runs and throws, and Teddy Bridgewater is far more capable than people give him credit for.
Yeah, Ryan, I'm going to have to disagree with you, and it's not because I'm a homer and I'm a Jet. I'm taking the Jets. They're getting 3.5 points. I think they cover that. Again, to me, the big story is Xavier Howard. How does he play this week? Because, again, Josh Boyer likes to leave him on the island. We saw T. Higgins take advantage of that when he had the groin injury. If he's not playing and Crossan's not playing, now you got 2 young guys in there at corner. I believe this Jets offense gets back on track. I believe Zach Wilson's more comfortable in his second week. Remember, he missed up to 7 weeks before last week coming back in the Pittsburgh Steelers game, so there was some rust there. I believe the way he played in the fourth quarter carries over in this game. I believe the Jets win, but they ultimately cover the 3.5 points.
One with the Jets, one with the Dolphins. Next, we got a pair of 2-2 teams that will meet when the Chargers travel to the Browns. Cleveland averages the 2nd most rushing yards per game. LA, they won't have Joey Bosa to try and slow down that ground game. Leger, what do you got that's intriguing you about this one?
Yeah, Corey Linsley comes back last week at the center position and really solidifies that offensive line. Jamari Slayer, right, was a guard. Put him in at left tackle for Rashawn Slater, played really well. I'm looking at this matchup because Myles Garrett did not play last week versus the Atlanta Falcons. That defense got torched for over 200 yards. The Falcons running back, Cordell Patterson gets hurt. The other 3 guys, they step up, and all of them go to town on that defense. Myles Garrett is back this week. You got a young rookie left tackle out there. That's the matchup I'm looking at. And it also looks like Justin Herbert in this offense is back on track. Mike Williams went over 100 yards. Austin Eckler went over 100 combined yards. Do they run the ball effectively like the Atlanta Falcons did? That's what I'm looking for this week.
I'm going to stay there with Leger. I want to see if Austin Eckler can do it again. One of my favorite players to watch in the NFL, had a tremendous, productive week last week. And then over 300 yards passing again for Justin Herbert. And his health is in question. So he's really battling through. But between Austin Eckler and Justin Herbert, it's going to be fun to watch how this offense for the Chargers competes. And then defensively, the Browns have to stop the deep ball. I mean, they gave up play after big play against the Falcons, made Marcus Mariota look like the first-round pick that he is. They've got to find some answers, and quick, in that secondary for the Browns.
Chargers giving 2.5, Ryan. Who you got?
Give me the Browns here. I love that run game. Nick Chubb playing well. Jacoby Brissett. Hopefully Kevin Stefanski doesn't go for it on 4th and 1 in the first quarter of the game. Come on, man. Take the points. Hopefully it's a learning lesson. Last week, give me the Browns here.
Yeah, Ryan, again, I'm going opposite of you. I'm taking the Chargers. I believe they covered the 2.5. It looks like Justin Herbert and his offense is back to firing on all cylinders. And if Keenan Allen comes back to this already dangerous offense, we talked about it. The Browns gave up 200 yards rushing. Austin Eckler and his O-line should have a field day with the Browns. But then those underneath routes to Keenan Allen and taking shots downfield to Mike Williams, I believe the Chargers cover the 2.5 and win this game.
2 games in, you guys still don't agree on who's going to win either of those. Let's see what we got for the next one. Eagles, the only remaining undefeated team. They're headed west to take on the Cardinals. Over-under set at 49.5. Second highest total of the weekend. Arizona's, they've lost 7 straight at home. What do you like about this game, Ryan?
I love Jalen Hurts. This is one of the greatest success stories we are getting to watch in the NFL. He gets benched in college for Tua Tagovailoa, stays at college, which most quarterbacks aren't doing these days, helps Alabama win the SEC championship, goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. There's questions whether he's their guy. What's he do? Over 60% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns. He is a fantastic success story, great behind the microphone too, fun to watch, and then they've got a great defense as well. But I love Jalen Hurts, this success story. It's fun to watch, and it even made me pull out that movie Silver Linings Playbook for those of us who like great movies. So I love that about this game.
Yeah, Ron, I'm going to talk about the other team, the Arizona Cardinals, and what are they doing in the first half on offense? Very slow starts. Cliff Kingsbury, what are you doing? I had a coach once tell me, don't get bored with doing the simple things well, right? You spread everybody out, you run the ball, you get 4, 5, 6 yards. Then you just go away from it. Get Kyler Murray in some RPOs. That way he has some run-pass options. I watched the Carolina game from this past week. I believe the first RPO in that game occurred in the third quarter with 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. And then you're getting too cute on 3rd and 4th and short. 4th and 1, you got James Conner back there. He's a physical runner. You run a speed sweep with Rondale Moore that gets tackled for a loss because Brian Burns shoots up the field. Another 3rd and 4th and 1. Snap over Kyler Murray's head. How about you get him under center on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1? Because the whole playbook opens up. It makes the defense guess what you're doing. I don't understand what they're doing in the first half, but Kyler Murray came out in that second half, played real well, went through his progressions, was able to find Hollywood Brown in one-on-one situations, and played really well, and they even used his legs a little bit. So do some of that in the first half. Stop getting cute on 4th and 3rd and 1, because if you do, this score could get ugly real quick.
Eagles looking for their 3rd 5-0 start in team history, Leger. Will it happen?
Yeah, it will, and I believe they cover the points. I believe it's at 5 or 5.5. I think the Eagles are just the most complete roster in the NFL right now. I know people have kind of said they haven't played anybody. You play who's on your schedule. This team will get after you on the offensive side, and they put you in the bind with the RPO game because you have to respect Miles Sanders running the football. He went off last week in that monsoon versus Jacksonville Jaguars. And then Jalen Hurts has made teams play when they decide to stack the box and go one-on-one coverage with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. He's found Dallas Goedert as well. So I believe that this team is just too much. And on defense, you stated it, Ryan, right? This team has had 13 sacks in the last 2 games. So if they're playing with a lead, good luck, Kyler Murray.
I'm with you. Fly, Eagles, fly. We finally agree, Leger. Zach, I didn't think it would happen. But, oftentimes people miss the most important ingredient in winning in the NFL and really in life, willingness. And when you watch the Philadelphia Eagles, they are willing to be patient, 3, 5 yards at a time, and then play in tight games. They're willing to wait for the deep shot. That's very tough to have a team that willing on offense and defense with that pass rush that Leger mentioned. I just love this Eagles team. I think it's a great story. I think they go 5-0, Zach.
Yeah, you guys are big on Jalen Hurts, big on the Eagles. I can certainly see why. The Cowboys trying to get their own QB situation figured out. They're at the Rams on Sunday at 4:25. That Cooper Rush show continues. In his 3 starts this season, 0 turnovers. Rams favored by 5.5, though. Leger, what intrigues you about this one?
That the Rams are favored by 5.5 points. Have people not been watching film? Did we not just see what the San Francisco 49ers did to this Rams offense? They got injuries in the interior offensive line. All 3 guys are banged up. We're not even sure if any of those 3 guys will go this week. Have we not seen this Dallas defense? I believe they haven't surrendered over 19 points this season. I believe that was the first game of the season, was the only time they surrendered that. Micah Parsons, they move him inside. They move him outside. They also have DeMarcus Lawrence, who's played really well. Fowler is starting to come back. They move him inside on 3rd down in that NASCAR package. Ryan, this offensive line for the Rams, they struggled last week versus this 49ers defense, right? 7 sacks. A lot of that was because of the pass rush game. And you know more than anybody, Ryan, right? It's about continuity, right? You have to gel. You got to understand levels. You do not want to be on 2 different levels when guys are running 2-man, 3-man games, and that's what the Dallas Cowboys do. So I'm going to be looking at this Rams offensive line that got beat up by the San Francisco 49ers, because this Dallas defensive line brings that same issue this week.
I got to imagine that Sean McVay called Andrew Whitworth as many times as he could this week to try and get him to come back and play left tackle. You're absolutely right. I mean, the thing about games in the NFL, anyone watching any game, let me tell you what you're going to see on 3rd and 5+. You're going to see a game from the defensive line. That means that your offensive line for the Rams wasn't paying attention to the keys throughout the week, and that's a huge problem. You have 2 possible Defensive Player of the Year candidates on the Cowboys defense alone. I mean, Micah Parsons, I saw him at practice against the Denver Broncos this training camp. He had 3 plays in 3rd and long situations where he didn't get touched. He is one of the few players that make me thankful I am retired. And then you got Trayvon Diggs back there. This is a tremendous defense that has, oh, by the way, Cooper Rush 3-0. So I like the Cowboys here. I mean, this is a fun team to watch, but it will be interesting to see, can the Rams make this happen? If they win this game, well, they greatly change the narrative of where they're going this season. So huge opportunity for the Rams. But I think the dominance of the Cowboys is just too much on every level on both sides of the football.
Leger, is there any chance that the Rams can rebound from that Monday night dud and get the win?
I think it's tough only because the offensive line that we talked about. When you have that many issues in the interior offensive line, and that is the quickest way to the quarterback, it's really tough to overcome that. But I also want to talk about this Rams offense. You know, people have been very vocal about Allen Robinson. Why'd you pay him $15 million a year if you're not going to target him? Well, I went back, broke down the film. Allen Robinson isn't getting separation. Now, granted, I'm not absolving Sean McVay, because just like you set up plays for Cooper Rush to get open, you put him in bunch sets, you motion him, you can do the same thing for Allen Robinson. But it's hard if you're the quarterback, you're Matt Stafford, and Allen Robinson isn't getting the separation that he used to. They went to him in the red zone to Davius Ward one-on-one. He knocked the ball away. So I understand why they're force-feeding the ball to Cooper Kupp, because right now Allen Robinson hasn't been a viable option. But also, that's on the head coach. You have to figure out ways to get other players involved. I just think the interior of this offensive line is too beat up. This Dallas defense will come at you. And if you're Matt Stafford, stay away from Trayvon Diggs. This is the best ball-hawking corner I've ever seen in the league. As far as going to get the ball, he attacks it like a wide receiver. I can't believe the Rams are favored by 5.5. Maybe Vegas knows something that I don't know, but take Dallas in the points for sure.
Well, I like Dallas too, but Zach, to answer your question, if the Rams are going to win it, they got to start depending on the relationship that Matt Stafford has created with Ben Skoranek, former Notre Dame wide receiver. I mean, Ben Skoranek's not the guy that's going to show you, the numbers like an Allen Robinson or a Cooper Kupp, but they've got chemistry. And it's kind of like Jason Witten and Tony Romo. When you have that kind of knack with your receiver, Jordy Nelson, Aaron Rodgers, you can create tremendous production offensively. So if Ben Skoranek has 7 to 9 catches, the Rams have a chance. But I'm with Leger. I mean, this Cowboys team is got a devastating defense. Their offensive line is huge. And Cooper Rush is playing without hesitation. One of the greatest feelings in sports when an athlete can do that. I like the Cowboys.
All right, 2 in a row. We got guys agreeing. I like that a lot. Sunday night, the nightcap, Bengals at the Ravens, AFC North, tightly contested, both sides sitting at 2-2. Lamar Jackson, he's been on fire this season, leads the league with 11 passing touchdowns. What do you like about this one, Ryan?
Well, I like everything about the Ravens. I mean, Lamar Jackson, I think he has like 14 touchdowns this season. He's got the most rushing yards, most touchdowns in the NFL, and he still looks like he's not comfortable in that offense yet. And then they've got a defense. That secondary has been getting better throughout the season. That's an important piece, the way that Harbaugh likes to run that blitz zero. But look out for the Bengals. I mean, they just find ways to win gritty games. T. Higgins, you got not Justin Jefferson, the other wide receiver from LSU there. Chase, there you go. Jamar Chase, there we go. Sorry about that. I mean, they got some passing weapons, and Joe Mixon and others, P. Ryan, are getting that run game going. So this is going to be a knockout, drag-out game. This is going to be physical. This is going to come down to one possession, I believe.
Yeah, the one thing I'm looking at is how the Ravens respond to that loss last week. We know this, Ryan. Sometimes you can get beat by the same team twice, and you can't have that, right? The Bills game came down to the wire. 9-minute drive with about 4 minutes left. You decide to go for it on fourth down. Don't get any points. You end up losing that game when you're up big. That's twice that's happened against the Baltimore Ravens. If you look at this game, the Ravens should be pissed off and ready to play the Bengals. Last year, lost 41-17 and 41-21. They put up 240 burgers on you. So I know Lamar Jackson and his offense is ready to go. If you look at the Bengals side, right, Joe Mixon had a meeting with his offensive line to try to get on the same accord because the Bengals have not been able to run the ball. Teams have been able to stop them with six-man boxes, and that's unusual with Joe Mixon because he's a tough guy to bring down. He makes this offense really explosive. It really runs through Mixon. If they get that run game going, that's when you get those advantageous one-on-one situations outside with T. Higgins and Chase on the outside. So I know that he's talked to his offensive line. We'll see if it pays dividend. And then you talked about it, Ryan, the Ravens secondary. I know people have been griping and throwing all this hate at them. They played well enough to win last week versus the Buffalo Bills. Yes, it was a monsoon game, but Marlon Humphrey had a pick. Marcus Peters had a chance for a pick early. And also Patrick Queen had an opportunity to end that game with an interception. So they played well enough to win. Now, in the past, they've gone a lot of cover zero, cover one, blitz, and put those guys on islands, but they played more zone coverage this year. I'll be interesting to see because Joe Burrow and his offense has struggled. When you've given them that two-shell look, that two-high safety look, do they do some of that to slow this offense down? That's something I'm looking at in this game.
Leger, Ravens are 3-point favorites for this one. What's your pick?
I'm going with the Ravens. I think they're pissed off. They got embarrassed twice last year versus the Cincinnati Bengals. They lost a close game versus the Buffalo Bills. They feel like they should be 4-0 right now. There's two games where they were up by at least 17 points and they lost. I believe Lamar Jackson gets this running game going. And it'll be interesting to see how the Cincinnati Bengals come out and defend Lamar Jackson in this run game because it puts you at such a bind because you have to account for Lamar Jackson and his legs. As soon as you do that, you got the running back bouncing out for 6 or 7 yards, or you got the RPO and he hits Mark Andrews in the flat for like 10 or 12 yards. So it'll be interesting to see. Do the Bengals end up going more cover one because they play a lot of cover two, adding more guys to the box? And if they do that, Rashad Bateman and Duvernay have to come alive for Lamar Jackson. But I believe they covered the -3.
I'm with Leger. Bateman's a fantastic receiver, finally proving to be what people thought he could. And then you have to remember, division games bring another level of attention to NFL players, and especially when you have a veteran head coach like Harbaugh there at the Ravens. So I like the Ravens here. I like them finding another way to score offensively. You can't just rely on Lamar Jackson, not for 17 weeks of an NFL season, but if you win that Super Bowl, that's 20 weeks of an NFL season. That's a very different timeline. They've got to find some other ways offensively to have patient production that leads to points. I like the Ravens here in this opportunity at home.
All right, so we started as maybe some guys quarreling. We end as a family in agreement. Once again, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Leger, for joining us. That is your top 5 games to look for this weekend, according to Ryan Harris and Leger Douzable. I think the biggest one that they seem to think for sure is the Cowboys will be big winners over the Rams, but that's our full slate of the 5 games as we get ready for this weekend in the NFL.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.